action.
I think adding new songs to the musical allows it to feel fresh. As time goes on, of course, people evolve and stories evolve, and you have new ideas that are constantly coming to play.
As I said before, part of the big push for this movie's marketing was the fact that the movie was going to put an effort to try and mend some of the issues faced in the musical. Any fan of Dear Evan Hansen can agree that no matter how much they like it, the musical had some serious issues that needed to be addressed. The movie adaptation of Dear Evan Hansen is the perfect opportunity to fix the wrongs of the original show and make the film the standout and definitive version of the story. This was Dear Evan Hansen's redemption arc. I was actually rooting for the movie to put in the effort and actually prove me wrong and become a better film. Honest, I was wrong about a lot of things in my life, from thinking that my real dad gives a shit about me, to thinking that Elon Musk couldn't get as stupider as he appears to be. I love the idea of being proven wrong. So, did the movie version of Dear Evan Hansen, if nothing else, fix some of the problems of the original? And further question, does it still work as a movie with the elements that it kept from the original? The short answer for all of these is, of course, no, goddammit! This movie is a train wreck too large for me to spend precious minutes of my life getting into. So for my sanity, and yours, I'm going to be breaking these issues down into little bite-sized chunks for easy consumption. Hey, we're in this together, gang. We're going to get through this if it kills me. Now, I'm going to be separating these in 3 different subcategories between the things they kept from the original, small changes that they made, and huge changes that were absolutely detrimental and completely changed the story in every direction that you can imagine. So let's jump right into it.
Dear Evan Hansen.
For the most part, the movie stays very close to the original show in terms of pacing and structure. The story follows a teenager with social anxiety and a broken arm named Evan Hansen, who gets into a misunderstood altercation with a kid named Connor Murphy. He then proceeds to write his name on his cast and throw a shit fit over a letter Evan was printing that mentioned his sister Zoe, thinking that Evan had that letter written with the sole intent of Connor reading it in order to trigger him. What the fuck?! Connor then commits suicide off screen, or off stage, and his parents Larry and Cynthia meet with Evan personally regarding the letter that they found on Connor's body, which was addressed to him personally. Evan insists that the two weren't exactly close, and then he tries to give them the letter so that they can keep it, only for them to look at Connor's name on his arm and remain convinced that the two were friends, much to Evan's socially anxious chagrin. Evan has dinner with the Murphys where he decides to keep the charade going by singing a song about all the happy tree-related memories he and Connor do not have. All the while, the family just sits there watching him make scary faces while singing, looking like Linda Blair in The Exorcist.
Stick your cock up her ass, you motherfucking worthless cocksucker.
Evan getting Jared's help to write fake emails and backtracking them so that they can prove that Connor and Evan had a relationship together, all the while the two are singing Sincerely Me alongside a phantom Connor whose lyrics change based on how the flow of the emails go, leading to this stupid moment.
My sister's hot. What the hell? My bad!
Connor getting ridiculed for his clothing and being called a school shooter, though in the show it was Jared who makes this off-color remark, while in the movie it's some John Q nobody who says it, causing Evan to snicker awkwardly due to the awkwardness of the situation, and Connor taking his frustrations out on him as a result. Evan awkwardly talking to Zoe following the blowout he got from Connor, only for Evan to awkwardly shoot down the conversation because of his poor social skills, and the fact that he's talking to a girl clearly out of his league. However, while this does happen in the show, it happens during the performance of Waving Through a Window. And in the movie, he straight up does the Naruto run. You can't make this shit up. They actually shot and directed it like this. How can I possibly joke about it when it's doing it for me already? Zoe having reservations about Connor after his passing due to horrible memories about him that prevent her from remembering him fondly, all the while the Murphy family sings the song Requiem in order to cope with their loss, Evan hanging out at the Murphys' place in an almost parasite-like fashion while being seen almost like a distant relative and schmoozing it up with his crush Zoe, eventually singing the most skin-crawlingly incesty love ballad I've ever heard in my fucking life, if I could tell her. Evan and his friends starting a foundation in Connor's memory aptly titled The Connor Project, while trying to raise awareness of his passing and helping to glorify his suicide, helping to keep his memory alive by restoring a broken down park that Connor used to love many years ago. Evan singing the song You Will Be Found while wearing Connor's tie that Cynthia gives him the night before, leading to both Connor and Evan to go viral and causing the Connor project to skyrocket in popularity. And if you're curious why there aren't any terrible 6-hour-long videos of people who look like this trying to discredit the whole thing as a hoax, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, look at the United States of America right now. What is more important to our culture than the Joker?
Evan and Zoe beginning a relationship whom he starts to prioritize over the Connor project and his friends, though in a small fashion because God forbid we have anything bad happen to Evan. The Murphys inviting Evan's mother Heidi to dinner where they announce that they wish to give Connor's college fund to Evan, leading to her rejecting their charity and causing Evan to become the most hateable human being I have ever seen in my life.
And I know that I'm a burden. I'm the worst thing that ever happened to you, and I just ruined your life, okay?
You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Sorry, I can't give you anything more than that.
It's not my fault if other people can.
I'm gonna hit you.
Alana Beck starting to question Evan's friendship with Connor and finding inconsistencies with his story, causing Evan to show her the suicide note and ask her not to show it to anyone instead of just taking the note back for safekeeping. I get that Evan is acting out of desperation, and it's obvious that people make mistakes. But did this imbecile seriously think that she wouldn't do anything with the letter? Lose it, misplace it, accidentally give it to someone else, or I don't know. Publishing the damn thing online for all to read?!
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
The letter going viral and the internet being the internet starts attacking the Murphy family, causing them to fight amongst each other, leading Evan to finally confess the truth about him and Connor. The Murphys are heartbroken, Zoe breaks up with him, Cynthia asks him to leave, and Evan sings his sorrows out towards Phil as we discover that the reason Evan broke his arm was because he jumped out of a tree trying to kill himself.
What?
More on that later. Evan mopes in his place as Heidi tries to comfort him and apologizes for being a decent mother that he did not appreciate because he's a fucking asshole, and all the while trying to do her best because of this little bastard's victim mentality, sings a stupid song about trucks, the two hug it out, and all is forgiven.
Is there another truck coming to our driveway?
Evan goes to the newly rebuilt park made in Connor's memory where he reunites with Zoe and the two talk about the future, also confirming that the Murphys are not pursuing legal action on him, which makes this optimistic ending a fucking tragedy. The two go their separate ways and Evan writes one last letter saying that things are gonna be better from here on in. Thank God, end.
I expect nothing, and I'm still let down.
We're gonna need a bigger vote. Holy shit, how much did I write for this fucking bit?
There are those anonymous ones stuck inside the perfect frame they're faking.
In order of severity, let's address the changes that they made for the movie. From the reasonable ones to the absurd ones, let's see whether or not they improve the adaptation or make things worse. Spoiler alert, no. I'm not gonna nitpick every stupid detail changed from the musical because nitpicking is bullshit. Looking at you, nostalgia critic. So I'm only gonna focus on the real important changes that drastically alter the movie, of which this film has approximately 5. I'm gonna focus on the first 4 and the last one is gonna be getting its own separate part. But for the first few, I'm tackling these based on severity. So let's talk about the most inoffensive change to the film, shall we? I'm gonna give credit where it's due. The movie actually did make a few significant changes to the story that helped it more than hurt it. For the most part. Evan and Zoe's disturbing relationship is definitely one of them. Evan and Zoe's romance was one of the most disturbing and uncomfortable romances I've ever seen since Khal Drogo and Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones.
Her name is Daenerys Targaryen!
I don't fucking care! Really take a moment to read between the lines here. This is not a story of a boy in love getting the girl and the two living happily ever after. This is a creepy interloper who fakes a relationship with her recently deceased brother and kisses her without consent on her brother's bed no less, who then emotionally manipulates her and causes her to make out with him again in her brother's bed in a state of emotions for which Evan takes complete advantage of and then kisses her without her pulling away this time.
So, my eyes are correct.
The movie gives them a bit more to work with in terms of developing their relationship before finally committing to the whole boyfriend-girlfriend thing, and they hit it off almost like slowly budding friends. Hell, Evan even gets away with this one really good singer that's Zoe and her family's financial expenses.
Well, my mom always says it's better to be rich than poor. So.
Yeah, well, your mom's probably never been rich then.
Yeah, you've probably never been poor.
In fact, one of the best changes this movie does without any doubt is the whole "you've given me my brother back" moment, where in the movie Evan and Zoe talk gently, everything is calm, right as the bane of my existence plays its final note. The two then hug it out in a more emotional and gentle fashion instead of the possible bumped uglies they did on Connor's bed. Gross. Let me reiterate, this does not make their relationship good. It's still toxic, it's still inappropriate, and he's still technically manipulating her. But at least here, Stephen Levinson decided to put a leash on the creepy little shit to keep him from being just a teensy bit less hateable. Speaking of creepy little shits... Oh, Jared. You really can't seem to catch a break with me, can you?
Paint me the picture. You're in your bedroom, you've got Zoe Murphy's Instagram, some weird off-brand cell phone.
That's not what happened. Obviously, I was climbing a tree and I fell.
You fell out of a tree? What are you, like an acorn? Hey, Connor! Loving the new hair length. Very school shooter chic. I was just kidding. It's a joke?
Yeah, no, it was funny. I'm laughing. Can't you tell? Am I not laughing hard enough for you?
You're such a freak. I can't believe you tried to kiss Zoe Murphy on her brother's bed after he died. Hey, asshole, aren't you gonna say anything?
Is that a button with Connor's face on it?
I'm selling them for a nominal fee at lunch tomorrow.
You making money off of this?
Well, I'm not the only one. Haven't you seen those wristbands with Connor's initials on them that Sabrina Patel started selling during free period? I rub my nipples and start talking with the lights.
Why would you write that?
I hate you, Jared! There are several words that can be used to describe Jared. Obnoxious, homophobic, opportunistic, annoying, and probably has the most annoying laugh I've ever heard next to Mozart from Amadeus.
Why would you write that?
But more than that, Jared is just dead weight. He is without any doubt the most useless character in this show next to Alana Beck. He doesn't contribute to anything useful except for helping Evan to write the fake emails about him and Connor, and stays around to be part of the Connor project just to sell merchandise with Connor's face in it. The only other significant thing about him is that he chews out Evan for acting like an asshole, which would be appreciated if it wasn't such an ugly case of pot calling the kettle black, but none of it actually goes anywhere, and none of it really matters at the end because he has nothing to do with the story any less than Alana Beck does. Jared is like an infected pimple that exists within the story, but doesn't go away no matter how much Stridex you rub on him. He's responsible for some of the most vile and offensive jokes told throughout the story, and straight up calls Connor a school shooter because of his appearance. You'd think that with the way this movie is trying to change things and improve on the story, priority number one would be to eliminate this little parasite from existence. Right?
I was kidding. You obviously should not talk to her. You are a literal disaster.
Okay, where do I start with this idiocy? First, I want to make it clear. My feelings are strictly towards the character, not the actor in question. Secondly, race-swapping Jared isn't really a problem, as the show already has enough of a diversity issue that not even Jordan Fisher could fix during his run on the show. What is a problem, for me at least, is that they took a homophobic little dipshit.
Well, my bunk dominated and captured the flag, and I got to second base below the bra with this girl from Israel who's gonna be in the army, so... yeah! Hopefully that answers your question.
And turn him into a gay little dipshit.
Well, I put on 13 pounds of pure muscle. Also, I hooked up with this Brazilian dude who is literally a supermodel. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So let me get this shit straight. Which is ironic considering that neither me nor Movie Jared are straight. you have an offensively obnoxious homophobe who loves to make incest and school shooter jokes, who in the first minute upon us meeting him, lets us all know that he and Evan are only friends cause their parents are friends and that they're not necessarily close, capitalized on the death of a kid whom he mocked in his first appearance on stage, and only calls Evan out in his behavior when it doesn't convenience him personally, a character so horrifically unlikable he drags whatever goodwill the show had down with him, and your best attempt to fix him is to turn him from an annoying best friend to an annoying gay best friend? Who still does the gay and incest jokes? Who still tells Evan that they're not real friends? And whom you still push into the background with nothing to do after you will be found? Seriously? That's it?
What is the point of this thing?
I swear to God, they kept Jared almost exactly the same, except they made him black and queer, and in an ironic twist of fate, they kept him absent from most of the movie. Film Jared has less time on screen than OG Jared had on stage. Only here, he's not only the token black friend, he's also the token gay friend. In other words, by trying to fix a problematic character in order to reduce controversy and, let's be honest, try to score diversity brownie points, they made an already offensive character even more offensive by making him a token minority who only appears when the movie needs him to.
How do you fuck that up? How do you fuck that up?
They would have seriously have been better off just having Will Rowland making jokes about Evan giving Connor a rim job for 90 minutes, and the end result would have been the same, and probably would have cost less than $28 million fucking dollars. What a complete waste of a good actor like Nick Dodani. He deserves so much better than this. And speaking of characters who deserve better than this... Oh, Larry, what have they done to you? Of all the baffling changes and omissions that they made for this movie, what they did with Larry is just sad. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a fan of fathers in any respect, and that's mostly on account of childhood trauma that I'm not gonna get into here, but Larry Murphy was a wonderful case of a good parent who didn't always do the right thing, but kept on trying when things got tough. It's hard to be a parent, especially when your son is a drug-addicted asshole. Allegedly. Larry doesn't get a lot of credit as his better half Cynthia does in the show, but together they make the best out of a difficult situation even though the two are struggling to keep up with everything going on around their family. So when the tragedy strikes, it hits them both hard, and instead of finding confrontation, they try looking for answers as they try to get past each other's gripes they shared in order to find solace following the death of their son. Had this been a better written story, this would have been a beautiful message for any parents, grieving or not, that it's never too late to say I'm sorry or too late to do the right thing. Parenting is tough, but like any work in progress, all it takes is a little effort. Unless you're a fat piece of shit who failed so hard at being a parent he had to start over with a different family, leaving his old one behind without so much as a goodbye or see you later to his now 29-year-old son who's still pissed about the ordeal. But hey, nobody's perfect, am I right?
This is really bumming me out.
Okay, enough with my daddy issues. So what did the movie do with Larry that warrants a mention here? Well, he's not Connor's father. Or rather, he's not Connor's real father. For some reason that I cannot understand or fathom why, the movie decided to chalk up another diversity point by having the lovely and wonderful Danny Pino play Larry as a stepfather instead of a biological father. Now, before all of you get up in my case, I'm not here to make an argument about real parents versus step-parents, as in my opinion, both can easily disappoint just the same. My issue with this change is, like with Jared, Larry gets pushed into the background for the majority of the movie and doesn't develop in any way either as a parent or as a character of his own. This is where the elimination of some of the songs from the original show really start to become a problem for the story. The movie opted to use the songs that could be heard in the radio in order to crap out a mediocre soundtrack that proved to be more successful than the actual movie, instead of the songs that actually help to tell the story or provide any kind of character development whatsoever. In Larry's case, we lost one of the more grounded songs in the musical to Breaking a Glove, a 4-minute long duet with Evan regarding an old baseball glove they found in his workshop that he gave to Connor several years ago. At first glance, this sounds like a very stupid song about how to put on a baseball glove and nothing more. But to Pasek and Paul's very little credit, they actually made the glove a metaphor for parenthood, as it relates to Larry and his son Connor, even having the song be used to let Larry vent out his frustrations about his son's death. This is probably the song with the most subtlety that the two have ever written, which admittedly doesn't set the bar high, but it's still worth pointing out. So, what does the movie do?
I bought that 2 years ago. I thought, so stupid.
What? That's it?
That's it. The scene on its own feels like complete and meaningless filler because that added connection with his son has now been severely weakened, if not outright removed. And what pisses me off more than anything is the wasted opportunity and the implications that it creates. Really think about this. You take an established parental figure within the story and turn him into a step-parent. Tensions between him and Connor would be through the roof. Of course, the two would likely not get along too well, but that tension and that animosity could have resulted in brilliant writing and storytelling. Because you have a stepfather trying to connect with a son whom he does want to love and whose life he wants to be a part of, but he just can't seem to do so, and not from lack of trying. This could have been a wonderful opportunity to add more to Connor's backstory, to give more to Larry's, to show that there was love in that relationship even if he never always did his best at showing it. Hell, maybe they could have added a phantom duet between him and his now deceased son, where we could see a reflection of Connor and how he truly felt for better or worse versus Larry trying to show his son how much he saw him as a son and not as a stepson despite all the bad blood that the two might have had. The movie had a great setup here and it completely wasted it in favor of keeping the spotlight on Evan Hansen, who has no connection with Connor whatsoever, and at this stage in the story has burrowed his way so deep into the Murphys' household he's become a distant relation, while dreaming of having relations with their daughter.
You make me sick!
The movie has no desire to explore the broken relationship between Connor and his father, who did the best he could after everything that happened. Shit, it doesn't even bother hearkening to Evan's own personal life, since his father left him when he was young. He could have seen a bigger connection with Connor and Larry, as he could easily relate to Connor feeling alone in this world and would look up to Larry as the father he wished he had. But the story doesn't care. As long as it continued to keep Evan on the spotlight and having him come off as a saintly angel who did absolutely nothing wrong. And that perfectly leads us to... Before I continue, let's go back to my old video, as I believe this important moment will be relevant for this discussion.
Evan's deception never gets any kind of comeuppance. The Murphys keep his secret and nobody finds out the truth, meaning that he essentially got away with almost tearing a family apart after manipulating and lying to them for so long.
So, this movie attempted something completely different. And as much as I would love to sit here and tell you that it was a fantastically well-deserved change, like many other things, it didn't change anything. Without any doubt, one of my biggest problems with Dear Evan Hansen as a story is that, like I mentioned a year ago, Evan is a selfish sociopath who gets away with all of the crimes that he committed and gets absolutely no repercussions for his actions. Nothing. The most that he gets as a punishment is that his precious Zoe breaks up with him after all of the lies and suffering he put her family through. But even she ends up forgiving him despite not getting back together with him, and the Murphys never go public about what he did so as to not, and I quote, ruin his life. It is an embarrassing ending and proof that you can get away with anything if you're white and privileged. And now you know why Broadway was hell-bent on casting a black actor to play Evan Hansen. Because like everyone else in the world has pointed out, if Evan were a person of color, or a minority of any other kind, this story would have ended with police sirens instead of finale. And to further add salt onto an open wound that was already splashed into the ocean while having leeches feeding all over it, the show tries to use a get-out-of-jail-free card for all of Evan's actions by revealing that the reason he broke his arm in the first place was due to a botched suicide attempt that happened weeks before the story started.
So last summer, I just felt so alone.
You can tell me.
The tree, I didn't fall. I let go.
Oh, fuck you! Fuck you, pal!
I mean, I don't want you to jump saying you have the capability. Oh, look, he's flying!
As you can probably imagine, I found this whole thing just a little bit horrifically offensive and dismissive of everything that Evan did throughout the events of the story. Not only that, but it also paints a really horrible picture of mental illness. Evan as a whole is one of the most despicable and unlikable characters that I've ever seen in any form of fiction. He's selfish, manipulative, and just as opportunistic as Jared. Though to his credit, at least Jared didn't kiss someone without their consent. I hope. The movie still kept every single aspect of Evan's fall from grace, no pun intended, right down to the embarrassing truck song that his mother sings to him.
Is there another truck coming to our driveway?
But as cringeworthy as the image of a 27-year-old Ben Platt being coddled by a 61-year-old Julianne Moore is, and it is, the movie hits us with what is probably the biggest change revolving around Evan Hansen himself. Evan actually confesses.
I was never friends with Connor Murphy. I lied. Repeatedly. To his family. To Alana. To all of you. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but, please. Connor's family doesn't deserve your hatred. I do. I'm sorry.
Holy shit.
This is a huge, significant change from the original, and one I've desperately wanted to see ever since watching the show for the first time on my computer. Sure, Evan looks like a goddamn serial killer when he does all of this, but to Evan's credit, he actually apologizes, and he tells everyone that he is responsible, which means that he's already holding himself more accountable than the fuckwits from Channel Awesome did. No, Doug, I will never forget.
There now, you see, there's no problem too big that it can't be solved by a humble apology. A humble apology. A humble apology.
I've wanted to see Evan either be called out or him confessing for all of the things that he's done, and this movie took it a step further by doing it online for all to see. Even the way he does it is so genuine, doing so via smartphone in a clearly unrehearsed and nervous tone instead of some pathetic loser sighing in front of a camera and reciting some pre-written apology trying to act like he didn't know what he was doing.
I just want to send out prayers to the ones that was lost last night. We're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time.
It's an ambulance in the crowd. Whoa.
My fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience.
Yeah, okay, you know what's coming. If I'm being positive towards this change, what exactly is my problem? Well, remember when I said that while this is a fantastically well-deserved change, that it didn't change anything? Come here. Come on, a little closer. A little closer. A little closer. It didn't change anything! Evan is basically a mini internet celebrity at this point, and he confessed to everyone on social media via livestream that he not only lied about his relationship with Connor, but that the whole thing with him and the Murphys was a result of a letter that he wrote himself that Connor had with him when he died. He straight up told everyone that he lied and kept that lie going because of the benefits that he got from it, and literally nothing comes from this. Nothing! Nobody gets angry at him, nobody accuses him of anything, nobody even apologizes to the Murphys and redirects their frustrations onto him, despite Evan confessing to everything that he did. Much like the original, he still gets no repercussions or any kind of comeuppance for what he did. But wait, I hear you writing on your keyboards. Evan's reputation was ruined and now he was back to being an outcast in school. Yes, he went back. As in, things literally went back to business as usual in his school, which, when you think about it, is really nothing worth complaining over, since Evan didn't really have any bullies or terrible grades or really anything for that matter. Sure, he's got social anxiety and has a tough time making friends and he has to go to therapy, but he's still going to goddamn therapy! It's like, where was this when I was in school? Oh wait. Oh crap. I think I just awakened a terrible memory.
Goodbye, everyone. I'll remember you all in therapy.
But anyway, there's nothing in either iteration that shows that he's not incapable of making any friends. He isn't exactly Shoko Komi either. Evan Hansen has zero problems at school or at home outside of his mother needing to work in order for the two to not be fucking homeless. And even his anxieties are being carefully managed since he's, again, talking to a goddamn therapist! Evan Hansen has no problems! Evan confessing for what he did wasn't an act of taking accountability for what he did. It's a glorified reset button that puts everything back to normal for him. He's still a nobody at his school despite this whole thing being a huge deal and the writing failing the movie spectacularly, but he doesn't get any kind of backlash for it. We are living in a generation that's very quick to force people into taking accountability for their actions, for better or for worse. Even those who refuse to accept it did the horrible things and continue to play the victim. And that same generation never forgets or lets anyone forget about the horrible stuff that they've done, whether it's recent or in the past. This movie expects me to believe that a generation of people who are still holding others like Vic Mignogna, Nobuhiro Watsuki, Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski, Logan Paul, Donald Trump, and Bobby fucking Kotick, just to name a few, would completely ignore someone like Evan Hansen for the vile shit that he did? Okay, this is not a case of you pissing on my leg and telling me that it's raining. This is a case of you telling me that the sky is green when it's clearly blue and then accusing me of gaslighting. So, Evan gets away with it yet again and proves that indeed no consequences will ever come to you if you're privileged and if you're written by privileged grown-ups. Now, we gotta get serious for 1 second here. I made a big deal just now, over a minute ago, about how Evan is a character with little to no problems, and whom has nothing to complain about despite all the bullshit that he's whining about regarding his mother. This movie and this story bears his name on the marquee. Despite him being the most unlikable, most unrelatable, and the most controversial part about all of it. And you want to know the worst part about all of this? Much like the original, the movie completely ignores who the real star of the story is supposed to be. And I got news for you, it's not Evan Hansen.